Alright guys, Technical Bit here today, and before we get into the video, I wanted to say that exams are coming up very soon. The first one is this Friday. Of course, this week is going to be the Pro League. From a couple of hours when this video goes live, the Pro League is going to begin, and then the Pro League's the whole week. So I'm going to try and do recaps in the morning. It's going to be difficult though, and then after Friday's exam, I have an exam next Wednesday, then next Thursday, then next Friday. Honestly, a ridiculous amount of content that I've got to look through. So we'll have to see how the videos go, but don't expect the daily upload streak to be continuing indefinitely, let's put it that way. So let's get on with the video here. I wanted to talk mainly about the biggest what if in CoD history. I saw an interesting Reddit thread about it, so we'll go through that in a second. Firstly, I thought we should go through some news that has happened over the last couple of days here. Now, I don't know if you guys know about this event that went on in Malta. There was this EG Malta event, and a couple of the guys that I've known from like the amateur scene, the amateur casting scene, were actually casting it, so I was very happy for them. And this was a clip that happened. This probably won't play too well on given my laptop's trying to record at the same time. Okay, no, it's playing horribly. But you can kind of see what's going on. This lad, Robstar, drives a motorbike through the arena and crashes it into some, like, stations over here. I'll just keep it on replay. I'll link this down in the description box below if you want to watch it, because, like, what the hell is going on here? This happened a couple of days ago at the event. I think he ended up getting kicked out of the event, and then he was allowed back in again or something like that, so what the hell is this man doing? Fair play. I thought you guys would enjoy that to start things off. If you want to see it in high quality, I'll link it down below. And yeah, then there was a little bit of drama actually yesterday in the end of that game, because of course it went all the way to the grand finals. Infinity was one of the casters here alongside Boffer's George, and yeah. Supposedly, because of the way the arena was done with the sounds, that one of the players on a certain side could actually hear the casters, which unfortunately is just something that happens with some of these amateur events, the way the acoustics worked. So, you know, the casters were getting blamed for the fact that the players had lost a couple 1v1s, and they thought it was because the players had heard what the casters were saying, which is, you know, maybe was true, but it's not exactly the casters' fault. So yeah, Black Claw eSports ended up winning it over Radiant. So yeah, a pretty well-known UK, European like amateur team here. So yeah, well done. And let's move onwards real quick. So this is another thing that happened yesterday. Red Reserve has been acquired. The remainder of Red Reserve assets has been acquired by this company, Norvins DNB or something like that. Now this is like a Norwegian company or something's going on here. It's quite interesting. They're based in Norway, it seems, or they're based in Oslo, because you know, Red Reserve was like a Swedish company that are owned by this Norway organization. Don't really know what they're going to be doing with this. How they call themselves a Nordic esports organization, so I don't know how this is going to go. Seems like they've got new investors, but they've taken over the Red Reserve Twitter, as you can tell, with 380,000 followers. And it was quite interesting because, well, Scraps replies to this, hope they pay me my 40k now, because, well, I don't know how this works legally, given that, well, it seems like Red Reserve as an entity has been changed into Nordavind or whatever. But does that mean that Nordavind still owe the money? Like, I suppose someone still owes the money. You can't just get away with it by changing your company name, I guess, even if you're acquired by new owners. So I guess the new owners take on the capacity of the debt they owe to their former staff members. We'll have to see how it goes because, well, if you take over the ownership of the Twitter account, surely you also have to take ownership of the debt, I guess. And yeah, okay, so CWL Intel tweets this, deleted with the quickness, so will we be getting paid red staff? So a couple of the tweets here. And, well, effectively what happened is that some of the Red Reserve guys that had access to the Twitter through TweetDeck, they still had access to the Twitter on this Nordavind GG Twitter because they just changed the name, but it doesn't mean that the people who have access to it via TweetDeck don't have access to it anymore. So they were doing a couple of troll tweets like this one that we see right here. So will we be getting paid red staff? And this one, wonder if the staff will get any of the money they're owed for the sale. Doubt it. And me too, bro. They can't even transfer a Twitter properly, so I doubt it. So yeah, interesting turn of events. I wonder what will happen because, of course, Scraps and those guys and the players are owed a lot of money. Of course, the staff as well are owned, you know, thousands of pounds each, or dollars, euros, whatever. So I hope everyone gets their money back, but I cannot guarantee anything like that at the current time. Okay, so here we go then. This is a nice Reddit thread. I'll link this down in the description box below about the biggest what if in COD history. And there's a few interesting ones on here. I'm sure you guys will also have your interesting ones as well down in the comment section below, because there's a lot of times in Call of Duty where over the ages there's something that's very close. It's either a 1v1 or it's like just a particular moment in COD history. And I feel like the way that franchising's going, a lot of the names in COD history are going to disappear. So it's always nice to look back on this while we have the chance. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Of course, we don't exactly know what the consequences of franchising are going to be, but I've talked about it a lot over the last week, so it is what it is. So we'll go through a couple of Veer Singh's biggest what-ifs in COD history first. So how good were the old Midnight team? Of course, I did actually talk about this yesterday, how that old squad, Envoy, Brack, Jetly, Parzelion, Llama God were forced to split up, even though they came out super hot at the start of the season. They went 6-0 at the Pro League qualifier. They beat Optic 3-0 in the first match, even though they had Zoom on the team. And they were looking very, very strong. I don't think this is the like an incredible what if. I don't really think say this team had stuck to the end of the year. I don't really think they get past like a top 6 or a top 8 team overall, or maybe a top 6, something like that. But I don't think they'd have been winning championships or anything like that. This second one I think is more interesting. Last season, FaZe versus Optic Stage 1 Playoffs World War 2. FaZe lost first round of winners bracket. They came all the way through losers to beat Optic in 2 best-of-5s. That was when we had the crazy attach 1v3 through an artillery. Replays also had a arguably better 1v3 because he was gunning people out of windows and all that stuff. So yeah, Optic ended up losing in two best-of-5s, and that pretty much spelled the end of the dynasty, I would say. So yeah, even given we have that situation, if they hadn't have choked that, if they'd have won that event, would it have made a difference? I'm not sure it would have done, to be honest. I feel like those guys, of course, Formal, Karma, Scump, Crimsix, they didn't really get on for a fair bit of time before this. It was winning that kept the team together. So maybe this win keeps them together another couple of months after when they did break up after Seattle, I think, or whatever it was. But I don't really think it would have been incredibly long. And then of course we've got some interesting ones way back in the day, which is basically impossible to say. What if Hex didn't drop nade and Crim actually left OG? Now, I'm not sure Hex actually did drop nade. I'm not sure exactly how this went down. I didn't really follow the game at Advanced Warfare Champs. Didn't watch any of Advanced Warfare. But as far as I understood it, I thought Nade voluntarily retired. Even though maybe that's an on the surface thing, and he was just thinking I thought part of the thought process was like, okay, I'm not really playing up to the caliber of the rest of the team right now, and I'm getting all this, people are talking trash on Twitter and Reddit and all this stuff. So maybe it's just better for me to take a step back in Call of Duty. I don't know. You can leave all your thoughts on this in the comment section below. This one is interesting. What if Formal killed Assault in the Black Ops 3 Champs 1v1? For those guys who not remember, back in Cloud9 versus Optic Game in Black Ops 3 Champs, it was a top 8 elimination match, and it came down to 1v1, round 11, game 5 on Stronghold S&D, and Formal versus Assault was a 1v1, and Assault won the gunfight with the M8. And if Formal had won that, it was one of the craziest moments in COD history, really, because the entire crowd was chanting for Optic, and then Cloud9 won, and of course it was Aches' team, and a lot of controversy surrounding it. To be honest, if they'd have won that, in the next round they'd have played Fabi, which they should have beaten, I guess, even though Cloud9 ended up losing to them, so I don't know. But I don't really think that Optic go the distance. They weren't playing the best Call of Duty this event, as they would have made it to finals to get destroyed by Envy. Their S&D was really indecisive bad the whole weekend. So, yeah, that's kind of what I remember from watching it as well. That their S&D wasn't so good. Envy were just imperious that event. I don't think anyone was getting past Envy. Even if Optic had beaten Fabi, beaten Splice, would they have happened to beat Elevate? No, Splice beat Elevate. So they would have then beaten... If they'd have played Splice. But I don't think they were getting past Envy anyway. Envy already beat them earlier on in the tournament. So... I don't think they would have made too much difference, but it's always an interesting one when you have a moment so iconic. This is a more interesting, recent one. What if Genji didn't get reverse swept to London? I remember, after that reverse sweep, seeing, Maniac and the guys walk past. Maniac was not in a good mood at all. Because if they'd have won that, you never know. And obviously they're in action tonight against Optic Game. If when you guys are watching this in the Pro League, they got reverse swept by 100 Thieves at London, and that effectively spelt the end of their tournament, really. When you lose a reverse sweep in that fashion, you go down to losers. Not too much hope. But if they'd have won that, they'd have been the winner finals. They'd have been playing Optic. I still don't think on main stage I had too much faith in Genji. And to be honest, 100 Thieves just outplayed them in those last 3 maps. So I still don't think they go the distance. Now, this is a more telling one that we have no idea what would have happened. If you guys don't remember, back in the day, Scump actually joined Envy for a very brief period of time. Way back in was it the Ghost days? He joined a team with like Merk and Gunjar, Proofy, something like that. I forget exactly what the team was, but he joined that instead of Optic very briefly. I remember watching his video on Twitter, like, and he was, everyone was so sad in the comments, and I was pretty sad as well. So it's pretty funny. But yeah. So, of course, he joins Envy for like a couple of weeks, then comes back to Optic, and people don't forget about this, but they kind of think, okay, Scump and Optic interchangeable, but he was actually on Envy for a couple of weeks back in Ghost. Okay, well, it even says in Ghost, so what am I even on about? But yeah, so I don't even know, if he doesn't leave Envy, what the hell happens? It's almost impossible to say. I'm sure you guys will have your thoughts in the comments below. This is another interesting one. I think this was CWL Atlanta in the Infinite Warfare season, Karma versus Fastballer in the 1v1. Optic were playing, I think they were called Panda Gaming, and the loser came top 12 or something like that. And Optic had a really tough run of things, and it came down to a game 5 round 11, Karma versus Fastballer. Karma clutched it up. It was honestly a very close, like, back and forth. It like they had their backs to each other and stuff. It was a crazy 1v1. Karma ended up winning that 1v1, and it really catalyzed the likes of Optic Gaming. They went all the way through the losers bracket, got to the grand finals, of course, and then they lost to E United, right, to because Gunners was the MVP at that Atlanta event. But that really like spelled the catalyst for their season, because if he'd have lost that, I think a lot of people have said within the Optic Gaming camp that team would have split up, like that event or the next event. That sort of team placing top 12 is just, you know, not acceptable at the time. Of course, at the end of that year, they went on to win the World Championship. So it's quite incredible how that event probably made a huge difference, because if they hadn't have, you know, won that and gone through all the way to top 2 at that event and made the grand finals and thinking, okay, like we can actually do this, and then stuck together, if they hadn't have done that, I feel like that team would have split apart, and that would have been that would have deprived Optic probably of the World Championship. So this might be one of the biggest what ifs in COD history that I've seen so far on this list. These are some other interesting ones as well. What if COD never went to jetpacks? Would Optic still have dominated? This is an interesting question, I think, because I don't really know how to call this. It depends what the games were, I think, at the time, because, of course, in the Advanced Warfare days, the game was all gun skill, and Black Ops 3 as well, to a large degree. I feel like Advanced Warfare was basically just the most skilled team was going to win the game. And that's effectively what Optic had. They put all the best skilled players on the one team, and they were the best team of the game for a long time. You know, FaZe were also very good as well. Black Ops 3, there was a little bit more skill involved, but honestly, when you go on, and in a little bit more tactics and stuff involved, but when you go back and watch that game, it's so chaotic. A lot of it is just gun skill once again. So I feel like jetpacks did enable that, right? A lot of people say jetpacks increase the skill gap or whatever, which I think is true to some extent, as in they increase the skill gap in terms of aiming and movement, because you know, you could be incredibly good with the movement, like a guy like Hook was in Advanced Warfare, just jumping all around the place, using the movement to its best ability, always having a dash in reserve, and like just wrecking people cross map. Whereas in Black Ops 3, it was a similar kind of thing. You could do the ledge slide, you know, you'd wall bouncing, all this sort of stuff. You had to add to your arsenal, so the best players could abuse that. And Optic did very well, of course, with their gun skill in that scenario. But of course, it doesn't necessarily, you know, add skill in terms of team play. And apart from just being, you know, near each other all the time, in terms of like, you know, it doesn't really take as much brain, I guess. There's something like a World War II did, where you have to set up on a head glitch. You have to play very strategically and very methodically, which of course, you know, the Optic team didn't seem to be as good at. So it depends whether the boots on the ground game went the way of World War II, in which I didn't think Optic would have been as good. It was more dominated by much more strategically minded teams, whereas Optic, if it was just pure gun skill, that team would have been unbelievable. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comment section below here, and all the ones that you think this Reddit thread missed. I'll leave this linked in the description box below as always. So yeah, like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.